Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day.
Hello. I'm Kalina, and welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That, or as it is presently known, your favorite vlog where Kalina watches the bear. You tuned in. You've gotten this far. We're watching the bear. We're on episode 4, if I remember correctly. We're on episode 4, and shocking turn of events. I have changed my background, my filming location, because I'm eating dinner, and I'm just doing some work. So, gonna watch the bear. We'll check back in with you a little bit into episode 4. Anything interesting happens. Also, this whole time I thought this was by Hulu. Don't ask me how when I was the one watching it. Checking in. I am a big fan of Sydney punching Tina in the face. Nicely. The opening scene is Richie and Carmi getting ready to go to some catering party, and I think they do a good job of very naturally setting up why they're doing things, because Carmi brings up his brother lending money to the guy, and now they need to make money so they can pay him back, and then they get in a fight over whether or not this inflatable hot dog will fit in the car, and Carmi is helping him shove it in the car while at the same time saying it's not going to fit in the car, and then they almost get in a fist fight. And clearly that system works for them. I say this about a bit stereotypical, but I say this about men all the time, that they punch each other in the face and they go back to being friends. So I just think Sydney should be allowed to hit Tina once. I think everyone should be allowed to hit every single person they know one time in their life. So you gotta save it for a good one. I think it would solve problems and cause less issues. Just you have some people who know you a little bit all the time, so just save it up for the one day they it all adds up. Or you have some people who will annoy you once in your life and never again. Either way, just give him just hit him in the face one time. No one's allowed to get mad. Never speak of it again. But the other person knows it's a possibility, you know? I guess you guys can get into fights anytime, but you get one time in your life where no repercussions, they can't bring it up, they can't hold it against you, nothing like that. You get one get out of jail free card or one hit. Anyway, now they're in the car. Richie's on his phone, Carmi's driving. I'm sure this is gonna end very well. The two of them being in a closed space together. Okay, we're about to see my favorite trope in media.
Cousin, listen, do me a favor, okay?
When someone says, don't do this, or I would never do this, or I'm not going there.
Chill. I'm not gonna bring up shit, alright?
Hard cut.
It's literally the easiest fucking you see what happens? I'm the only one.
I also Carmi's face is killing me. Also, I noticed that at first I thought only Richie ever said cousin, and I was that kind of sets up the relationship and the real dynamic of it. But now I'm realizing Carmi also calls Richie cousin in return. So I think it's cute they came up with that. And even while they're in the middle of fighting, they'll call each other cousins. So you can tell what their relationship is and the depth of it, and the I don't know if love's the right word, but the care that is there. But it is just under this layers and layers of tension and anger and frustration. Y'all remember a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when I was I don't like when they put relationships in for the sake of putting in relationships, and I hope Sydney is by herself and they don't put her in with Carmen and put them together. I stand by that. I think they're setting up this relationship between Sydney and Marcus really well, and I wanted to turn romantic because I like it, but also I'm not upset if it doesn't, because I really like what they've established, that he got on board the fastest, and he really seems to respect her, and she gives him that support in turn, versus Tina, where she's not hostile with Tina, but she kind of has to curb her ways, her natural instinct, because of how Tina responds to her. I'm trying to give you all a better angle because my light's above my head. But it's really nice, and I really like Marcus. When you have structure, I think it's a lot easier to be creative, and that's what Marcus is experiencing. I think when the chaos of the place before didn't really give him, he was kind of doing whatever he wants. Whereas now there's structure, there's like a standard to be met, there's a like an expectation of him. And so now he can kind of indulge those things that he didn't have the space for before, or perhaps felt like were silly or frivolous or like wouldn't be accepted because of the nature of the kitchen and the nature of the workers. But everyone's like getting on board, except for Tina, who I still don't like. Tina's like taking over as my, I almost said number one op, but I think that sounds weird coming out of my mouth. But Tina's taking over as my least favorite past Richie. Richie is still annoying, and I don't think the problems he's like alluded to having justifies the way he behaves, but Tina is just, I don't know, hasn't been alluded to having problems yet, so I got beef with her. Get it? Beef. I just said this.
And you've given Marcus a lot of confidence. Well done.
That look from Tina in the back of that scene makes me think that Tina just needs some space to be creative and show her, maybe not her culinary skills, but maybe a safe space and a supportive space to be, oh, I don't want to use the word softer. I think that's a word that's like, not weaponized, but I feel softer is a word that is turned against women or turned towards women very often as like an expectation and like an absolute necessity of a way they should behave. But I think you can be softer regardless of gender identity in a variety of ways, emotionally. Well, in this case, I'm talking emotionally. So I think maybe she just needs that space. So I'll backtrack a little bit of what I said about her earlier. I take back what I said before. We still don't like Richie. He's an insane man and is going to cause like real, genuine problems if he keeps this up. Also, I saw that this was like, it was talking about the girl who plays Sydney, and they were like, she's changed her like campaigning from running for best supporting actress to best lead actress in a comedy. And all I took from that was they call the Bear a comedy, because while it has funny moments, I do not think it's funny in a way that qualifies it as a comedy. It's more like a dramedy, if anything. That's being generous.
Don't kill me.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
We spilled a bottle of Xanax in the cooler.
My question is, why is he saying we spilled a bottle of Xanax? We did not have a bottle of Xanax. Richie had a bottle of Xanax. And like, maybe he's like, Richie's my cousin, and I don't want to, he and this guy just got to a good place, but like, I'm not taking responsibility for drugging a bunch of kids with a bottle of Xanax. I'm so sorry. If you're my cousin, don't expect me to do that for you. I was right. Tina just needed someone to tell her she did a good job and some space to have a little flair. And also, I think Sydney, like, boiling, I'm assuming it was milk with rosemary in it, because she had a feeling, or like she knew Tina was going to jack up the milk because she didn't want to listen, could have been a bad move, and Tina being like, you don't trust me. But the way Sydney responded, Sydney didn't say, I did this because I don't trust you, because I think you can't do it. She was like, I don't have time to mess around. And I think it kind of whipped Tina into shape in the sense that she realizes it's not targeted at her. And then especially when she goes to have Sydney taste the mashed potatoes, and she's like, okay, go ahead and tell me they're bad. And Sydney's like, no, they're great. Like, and I think Tina for so long was coming at it like giving Sydney a hard time just to give Sydney a hard time, whether what Sydney did was good or bad. She was expecting that back from her, and Sydney's like, I just want you to do good work. You can treat me, I think Sydney's like, you can treat me as awful as you want, but like, take care of the restaurant first. Don't care too much about our relationship. So I think she's creating a good space. I know this is like the dynamic that's set up, but I think it's really interesting that like we're learning about Carmi and running the restaurant, but he's not really running the restaurant in that sense. It's Sydney who's taking on that active role. He's running the restaurant in a more theoretical sense and fixing the restaurant, and in turn fixing himself. But we in the show, as viewers of the show, are watching that self work, not so much the restaurant work on Carmi's end. Why don't we like Pete? What did Pete do? Did they just like not like him because he's kind of lame? Because that's funny. I also like that we set Pete up to like give Carmi the serious talk about his sister, because coming from him, it doesn't feel like this very intense moment, but it was coming from someone close to the situation without being close enough to Carmi that it feels targeted. So, but what Pete do to anybody? He's just a nice man. He's doing his best. He's drunk on Xanax on accident. What's up? It's editing Kalina. Did I film an outro for this episode? No. Did I only just realize that now as I was editing? Yes. Am I going to film a video outro for you now? Hard pass. What I will say, give you a quick little recap of my thoughts. I really like this show. I get why it is, for lack of a better word, revered. I get why it's getting the accolades it gets. I think it deserves them. One really strong point that I wanted to mention is, as an ensemble TV show, I think it's really good. I think that we are getting these characters' backstories in a very natural, believable, well-timed way without it being shoved down our throats. When you have a cast of so many characters, especially in such a small space such as a restaurant, and then on top of that, a restaurant the size of the Beef, it's easy to like try and shove these characters and get you to fall in love with them or connect to them or know them on a deeper level very quickly. Whereas I think we're really getting Carmine's story, we're getting Sydney's story, and then we're getting like little pockets of Richie's story, which makes sense with his connection to Carmine. We're getting little pockets of Tina's story, we're getting little pockets of Marcus's story, or at least their development as characters. Enough that it's not on the peripheral, so that when we see them from beginning to end of the show, we're like, these are different characters and we don't know how this growth happened, how we got here. But also it's not too much, and we're not like spending too much time developing that. We just kind of see how the things going on in Carmine and Sydney's life, because again, they're in this very small pocket of the restaurant, the things that are going on in their lives obviously affect the other characters. So we understand the impact on the other characters, even if we're not following them as closely. But I'm really enjoying these. I keep saying this to myself, at least, if I haven't said it to you all. I want to do 2 episodes of The Bear per 1 episode of Don't Quote Me on That. But it just hasn't happened and worked out for me that way yet. So I think what I'll do, if anything, is when I finish season 1, in terms of recording episodes for the podcast, I'm going to sit down and like watch them all together, or watch them, maybe a few episodes at a time. It's only 8, so I could do like 2 or 3 episodes. Get through it quickly, but just have it all together. But I'm really enjoying breaking it up and talking about it on the podcast, because I feel it helps me remember more. I don't know if this is because of the show or just because of the way I'm watching the show, but this is the most engaged it's the most engaged I've been in a show, and then also the most I've remembered about like what's going on, which is impressive to me. And then I'd like to do season 2, but we'll see when Eleanor comes back. Maybe I'll save that for like another set of solo episodes. Anyway, that being said, whatever like platform you're listening to this on, or hearing about it on, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Really enjoying this. Next year will be a year that we've been doing the podcast consistently, and I don't want to jinx it, so I'm going to just leave it at that. But I'm really enjoying these. We're on Instagram and TikTok at Don't Quote Us on That. And then we're over on Twitter at Don't Quote Us 27. So if you want to hop over there and check us out there as well, greatly appreciated. I will see you all next week. Talk to you all next week. Be safe, be happy, be healthy. Oh, and next week's our Thanksgiving episode. So happy Thanksgiving. I won't see you before then, but I'll see you on Black Friday, where, boy, will I have a deal for you. Maybe I'll finally watch 2 episodes. It's a 2-for-1 special. Thanks for listening. Don't quote me on that. One day we'll have an outro, but it's not today.